The Atlantic 10 is an interesting conference when it comes to the arenas. There's a good mix of big, small, old, new, red, and blue amongst them. So here are the Atlantic 10 basketball arenas. Spoiler alert, there are more than 10 because counting is hard. John M. Belk Arena, Davidson Wildcats. The team that Steph Curry played for has a fittingly impressive arena, although you probably wouldn't call it a Steph Curry level venue. That's just a weird phrase. The exterior is nothing to write home about, but it's better looking on the inside. Especially since they upgraded a large section of wooden benches for chairback seats. The seating layout is kinda interesting. Other than that, I quite like those arched windows, which add a nice elegant touch. University of Dayton Arena, Dayton Flyers. This exterior does have a bit going on. It looks retro and modern at the same time. Less so on the inside, it's looking pretty modern, especially since they replaced their old dinosaur of a scoreboard with this new one just a few years back. Just like the minor league ballpark in Dayton, this place basically always sells out. Yet it didn't sell out when it comes to its name. It's a self-titled arena. Flight Deck, that's clever. Oh, I should point out that they're called the Dayton Flyers because the Wright brothers were based in Dayton. And the Wright brothers, of course, invented flyers. Or brochures, as you might call them. UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, Duquesne Dukes. Well, that's quite the roof you've got yourself there. The red pyramid is actually just as interesting looking from the inside, except it's blue. This place was recently given a major renovation and was ready just in time for the 2020-21 season. Good timing, I suppose? They've done a great job with it. This place is looking spectacular. The new video boards at either end are huge compared to the size of the arena. Oh, and look at that! I hardly noticed it, but there's some seating all the way up there. I love this arena's unique layout. Rose Hill Gymnasium, Fordham Rams. This is the second oldest college basketball arena currently in use. It's nearly 100 years old, about 55 in tortoise years. And this absolutely stunning Gothic stone exterior is a reflection of its age to an extent. Just look at that, beautiful. You can actually see some of the stonework from within as well, which is something I always appreciate. Their window game is strong, but it falls short of Belk Arena. Other than that, the amenities aren't exactly state of the art, unsurprising given its age. A few seats have obstructed views, but overall it's more than adequate. Eagle Bank Arena, George Mason Patriots. Eagle Bank must be doing well for themselves. I hear the bald eagle population has been increasing exponentially, which means more customers, of course. The arena, however, doesn't tend to attract huge crowds like a few of the other venues in this league, as you can see. That's partially due to the fact that they don't actually let eagles enter the venue, which is kinda racist in my opinion, but whatever. Nonsense aside, the seating is fairly steep, which may enhance the atmosphere a little bit, but I'm telling you, nothing compares to thousands of eagles screeching for their team. Charles E. Smith Center, George Washington Colonials. This building hosts not only basketball and volleyball as you would expect, but the swimming and diving is done here as well. That seems kinda dangerous to be diving onto a hard wooden... Oh, you know what, there's probably a pool next door. Never mind. One notable feature is the elevated baseline seating. Oh, and I'm really liking the new court design, which is befitting of a team based in Washington called Washington Colonials. That is, of course, the capital. Good choice, it's a lot more interesting than the Washington Monument. However, it does have potential. Have they considered adding a rock climbing wall? Tom Gola Arena, LaSalle Explorers. Similar to Rutgers' basketball arena that we saw in the Big Ten video, this is a trapezoidal prism. which means it isn't necessarily the prettiest, but supposedly it makes for a louder atmosphere, and it can probably withstand a small nuclear explosion. It's the only arena that doesn't have baseline seating at either end. That's probably due to the unusual shape of the outer structure and of course its tiny capacity. They have yet to update their scoreboard. This one was actually designed by Thomas Edison himself. Well, he claims to have designed it. There is at least a much newer screen for replays over here. Not a bad little venue. Sitting on the shore of this rather large duck pond, I believe they call Lake Michigan, is Joseph J. Gentile Arena, home of the Loyola Ramblers. The exterior is a pretty clean combination of brick and glass. This too is a rather small venue with a design feature that could bolster the crowd noise, that being the very low ceiling. It's all about getting that interior volume to lung capacity ratio bang on the money, and they've done that. The roof is so low that they couldn't get themselves a full-size center-hung video board, just a slim halo of a screen. But yeah, I'm liking the color scheme and I think overall it's a pretty good arena. Mullins Center, UMass Minutemen. If you said that to someone in the street, they'd think you're trying to start a fight. Yo, UMass Minutemen? UMass Minutemen? Oh, we have a green roof this time. 2 green roofs in fact, as there is a matching hockey rink to the north. The arena is shared with the UMass hockey team after all. It's a pretty good looking exterior. Inside it's looking very clean and symmetrical. There are some football style end zone video boards, and we have another interesting court design. That appears to be the outline of, well, it looks like the outline to some geographical area, a state perhaps? You know, it's probably just the outline of whatever state the University of Massachusetts is in. Ryan Center, Rhode Island Rams. There's a lot to say about the outside. Firstly, it's attached to the football stadium and is actually the more imposing of the 2 structures. Secondly, it features several lighthouses, which if you're one of the younger viewers, before the flashlight feature was added to smartphones, people had to carry around one of these big boys. That's why you often see older people with hunchbacks. If this arena wasn't interesting enough already, there are actually some luxury suites that have a view of both the court and the football field. For the most part, the seating layout is pretty standard, but then there's this corner. Very interesting. Robins Center, Richmond Spiders. The exterior could be described as red brick galore, matching the adjacent football stadium, and the other buildings on campus. Inside, although it's one of the larger arenas in the conference, it's still just a single tier of seating. I quite like the way the corner screens are sort of built into the brick wall. Yes, there's actually some internal brickwork. I'm not such a fan of that in a house, but in an arena, it looks great. Tell you what would be a nice touch, if they had some of those suspended backboards which look like a Spider-Man web, or some specially made spider web nets. But the big spider on the court shall suffice. Riley Center, St. Bonaventure Bonnies. Although around April time they're known as the Easter Bonnies, I believe. We have yet another red brick exterior, but I shouldn't be surprised. It seems that most colleges own shares in Big Brick. This place does have those suspended backboards that I just mentioned, and not all that much else. It's not one of the better arenas in the conference. Well, no, they did recently replace their very old scoreboard for this, I guess you would call it a guillotine variety? So that's something, but yeah, it's pretty basic. Hagan Arena, St. Joseph's Hawks. This arena was originally built in the late 40s, however, it was given a major rebuild in the late 2000s. Still, it does have some old school charm. Not quite on the level of Rose Hill Gym, but it does have some of those pointed arched windows which I like. Another interesting quirk of this building is that the baseline seating actually extends almost twice as high as those stands along the sidelines, which usually isn't the case. You're nearly touching the rafters up there. Speaking of which, I'm liking those red beams. Pretty cool. Chaifetz Arena, St. Louis Billikens. This is unlike pretty much all the arenas in the league in that it follows the formula of a professional multi-purpose facility that has plenty in the way of amenities, less so in the way of character, with its clean, symmetrical, sterile, double-tiered seating bowl. Surprisingly, given its otherwise modern features, it's opted against the center-hung video board, which is the default choice for these sorts of venues. However, it does make up for that by putting a huge flat screen in each corner, which basically does the same job. Siegel Center, VCU Rams. This place gets the nickname of the Stew. That has nothing to do with the meal consisting of meat and vegetables, it's simply named after Stuart Siegel, who was in turn named after those birds that live by the sea. This arena is nothing extraordinary, but it does the basic things right. Exterior is quite easy on the eye, as you saw. For the most part, it's your standard straight-edge single-tiered layout, with mostly retractable seating that never looks the best, but the smart-looking color scheme and the top-notch video board make up for that. So those were the Atlantic 10 arenas. If I had to pick a favourite, I'd probably say it was the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse. I just like that unique layout. And of course it was looking pretty fresh after the recent renovation. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. If you already have,
You're a bloody legend, mate.
thanks for watching, have a good one.